The first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of rose and gold. Dewdrops glistened on spiderwebs, strung between emerald leaves, each one a tiny prism catching the rising sun. Birds stirred in the branches, their songs tentative at first, then swelling in joyous chorus. A gentle breeze stirred, rustling the leaves of the whispering oak and carrying with it the promise of a new day. But beneath the tree, Sir Rowan slept on, unaware of the world awakening around him. The chill of night lingered, and the warmth of his body seeped into the earth, mingling with the scent of moss and fallen leaves. He was completely still, his chest barely rising and falling with each breath. His face, usually strong and weathered, was relaxed, the harsh lines softened by slumber. His lips, usually set in a grim line, were parted slightly, as if in a peaceful smile. The knight who had carried the weight of kingdoms on his shoulders was finally free of his burdens, lost in the embrace of the forest and its ancient magic. He had not intended to stay so long. He had come seeking solace, yes, but also answers. For weeks he had been plagued by unsettling dreams, visions of a shadowed realm that stirred something ancient and evil within him. It tugged at his soul, whispering of forgotten lore and urging him to seek out the heart of the Whispering Wood. He had obeyed that call without question, drawn to the forest's edge as if by an invisible thread, and there he had found the Whispering Oak, its branches reaching towards the sky like gnarled fingers, beckoning him closer. Guided by an inner knowing, he had followed that silent summons, laying down his weapons and armor, shedding the trappings of his knightly duties and simply resting beneath the oak's protective canopy. Now, as the first tendrils of dawn crept over the horizon, a gentle hand seemed to lift him from his slumber, a hand unseen yet undeniably present. Rowan stirred, his eyelids fluttering like trapped moths, hesitant to break free from the comforting darkness. As he awakened, a sense of profound tranquility washed over him, a sensation so foreign to his battle-hardened spirit that he instinctively braced himself against it. For so long, his life had been a relentless pursuit of order and control, of forging ahead in the face of danger, never allowing himself the luxury of stillness. And yet here he was basking in the quietude, enveloped by a peace that threatened to envelop him entirely. But even as he reveled in the tranquility, a part of him recoiled, fearful of surrendering to such vulnerability. It felt alien, exposing him as he was, stripped of his usual defenses. Tentatively, he lifted his head, glancing around at the awakening forest, his gaze lingering on the majestic Whispering Oak, which seemed to thrum with a life force all its own. The ancient tree stood sentinel, its branches reaching towards the heavens, its leaves rustling softly in the nascent breeze. It exuded an aura of timeless wisdom, of secrets whispered across centuries, and Rohan felt inexplicably drawn to it, compelled to understand its silent language. As he rose to his feet, he noticed his armor lying neatly where he had discarded it, glinting softly in the dappled sunlight that filtered through the forest canopy. He reached out, his fingers grazing the cold steel, and a surge of power, of invincibility, coursed through him. It was the armor he had worn into countless battles, deflecting blows and shielding him from harm. But in this tranquil glade it suddenly seemed cumbersome, a relic of a life he no longer recognized. He shook his head, as if ridding himself of a lingering thought, and turned away from his armor, choosing instead to follow the path laid out before him. The forest seemed to beckon, eager to reveal its secrets, to lead him deeper into its verdant heart. The path was barely discernible, a mere suggestion in the tapestry of green, but Rohan felt an unshakable certainty that he was on the right way. He walked for what felt like hours, each step taking him further from the familiar boundaries of his world and deeper into the realm of the unknown. The trees grew thicker, their branches intertwining overhead to form a leafy cathedral, shutting out the light and shrouding him in perpetual twilight. The air grew cooler, damper, heavy with the scent of pine and petrichor, and a fine mist began to gather on the forest floor, muffling his footsteps. And then he saw it, nestled amidst the ancient trees, bathed in an ethereal glow, a clearing bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center stood a ring of standing stones, their rough surfaces worn smooth by countless seasons, their pointed tops reaching towards the heavens like supplicating hands. A shiver ran down Rowan's spine, a prickle of awareness that something powerful, something primal lay dormant within these silent stones. He had heard tales of such places, ley-line intersections where the veil between worlds was thinnest, where the boundaries of reality were most permeable, but he had dismissed them as fanciful lore, fit only for bards and dreamers. And yet here he was standing on the threshold of such a place, drawn by an irresistible force beyond his understanding. As he approached the stone circle, the air grew charged with energy, the mist thickened, and the very stone seemed to hum with a deep, resonant sound. He stopped at the edge of the clearing, hesitant to intrude upon a power so ancient, so profoundly otherworldly. But as he stood there contemplating, a voice, soft yet insistent, seemed to echo within his mind, urging him forward, beckoning him into the heart of the circle. And so he did, taking a tentative step inside, then another, until he stood within the silent embrace of the standing stones. And in that moment, as the trees hushed and the wind held its breath, he knew he was not alone. There was a presence here, something ancient, something vast, and it was reaching out to him, probing, testing, waiting. The realization hit him with the force of a revelation. This was why he had come to the forest, to this place, to seek this moment. He had been drawn here by the echoes of a forgotten past, by the whispers of a lineage he had never known he possessed. The dreams had been calling him, guiding him, preparing him for this awakening, this remembrance. With newfound clarity, Rowan raised his head, meeting the gaze of the ancient stones, their rough surfaces now seeming like kind eyes gazing back at him. And as he stood there, bathed in the ethereal glow of this hidden clearing, the forest, the stones, the very essence of the whispering wood itself flowed into him, awakening something long dormant within his soul. He was no longer merely Rohan, the knight-errant seeking solace in the woods. He was Rohan, heir to an ancient lineage, rediscovering a heritage older than time itself. Welcome back. Now then, come closer, dear friends. Come closer. Look closely at what's happening here. Do you see? This is about becoming quiet enough to hear what the world has been saying all along. We're going to talk about that today. Yes, we're going to talk about that today. And yes, you can go to sleep now. That's right, go to sleep, drift off. Close your eyes. The forest will take care of you. Here in this space between thoughts, this pause in the day, this breathing space between one action and another, between one moment and the next, that's when it happens. That's when you come to understand that you have always been this way. The hero sets out on a journey, doesn't he? He has to leave his people, his loved ones, and venture forth into the wilds. Why? Because somewhere within him, there is something missing, something that has been misplaced, perhaps forgotten, maybe mislaid, or stolen even, or something that was never really his in the first place. Now, whatever it is, the hero ventures forth to find it. This is a familiar tale, isn't it? You know it well, this quest for something lost, this pursuit of a past life or a possible future. It's a universal story, a story that lives within every beating heart. That's why we tell it and retell it, weave it into tapestries and songs, etch it onto stones. It's a story we recognize because we live it. Yes, we all venture forth into the wild places of our own making. We set off on journeys that twist and turn and test us. But do we really think we will find what we seek out there among the mountains and trees? What exactly is it that we seek? Now, sometimes the answer is simple. Sometimes we really did lose something and it's tangible, a thing of this world, and we must travel to get it back. But how often is it that what we seek is less certain, more elusive? How often do we find ourselves journeying toward an idea, a feeling, or a memory that seems to drift through our fingers like smoke, a ghost of warmth and wholeness, and we reach out after it, grasping at the threads of feeling and hope that it leaves behind. But here's the wisdom. Here's the wisdom of the woods, of the ancient trees and winding paths. We don't really find those things we seek out there. Instead, we find ourselves. That's the truth. We find ourselves, for a knight to walk away from his kingdom, to turn his back on battles and banners and all the trappings of his station. That is no small thing. It means letting go of everything he has ever known, everything he has ever been. It means learning to be something entirely new. That's why the forest takes him in, welcomes him, cradles him. It knows what it means to be stripped bare, to be utterly alone, to have to face yourself when all the armor and accoutrements have been shed. The forest knows what it means to be vulnerable. The forest knows what it means to be vulnerable. When the knight lays down his arms, he becomes like the trees. He stands firm, rooted to the spot, reaching up to the sky. His back is against the rough bark, the same bark that has weathered countless storms and still stands strong. His shoulders sag, heavy with the weight of decisions made and battles fought. The forest breathes against him, sharing its strength, its endurance, its patience. Look now at the stream burbling nearby. See how it flows around stones and roots, how it changes course when it meets an obstacle, how it never fights but always adapts. Can you hear the music of the water? It sings of patience, of resilience, of constant change and yet eternal peace. The stream is a teacher, whispering lessons to those who listen. Lessons of adaptability, of inner calm, of letting go. So does the forest become a part of him now? Or does he become a part of the forest? Can you tell where one begins and the other ends? Does it matter? No, not really. Not anymore. As the sun dips below the horizon, the forest comes alive with whispers. Each leaf rustles a secret to its neighbor. Each branch creaks a story to the moon above, and the knight listens. He hears the rustling leaves and feels their secrets settle on him like blessings. He leans into the creaking branches and lets their stories wrap around him like protective arms. In the tapestry of the forest, the knight finds his place. His journey ends, not with a fanfare, but with a sigh. The armor that once defined him is now forgotten, discarded like a worn-out cloak. His hands, once gripping a sword, now rest lightly on his knees. His eyes, once sharp with battle readiness, now hold the softness of twilight. The forest doesn't ask who he is or what he has done. It simply surrounds him with peace. The trees don't judge him for his past, for the battles fought, for the lives touched or broken. They welcome him as he is broken and whole, warrior and king, all at once. There's magic in the forest, yes, and it's not in the rustling leaves or the creaking branches, but in the acceptance that pervades every inch of the wood. Here, under the canopy of leaves, the night sheds his last layer of armor, the chill of fear, the burden of expectation, the weight of his own making. As the shadows lengthen and the stars begin to prick the darkening sky, the knight finds solace in the stillness. He closes his eyes and surrenders to the quiet hum of the forest. Here, in the symphony of crickets and the gentle sigh of the breeze, he finds a melody that resonates with his soul. "Sleep, little one," says the forest. "Rest. Now your journey is over." And with that, a deep slumber envelops him, a sleep untroubled by nightmares, unburdened by the past. He dreams of fields of green, of skies so blue they hurt his eyes with their brightness, and of laughter that rings out, untainted by sorrow. In his dreams, he is not Sir Rowan the knight, feared and respected, but simply Rowan, a boy with dirt on his knees and a song in his heart. As he sleeps, the forest breathes around him, sheltering him with its ancient wisdom, its deep understanding of the cycles of life. It rocks him gently like a cradle, soothing the wounds that run deeper than skin, mending the spirit that has been battered by the storms of life. And as the moon climbs higher in the sky, the forest watches over him, a silent, steadfast guardian, knowing that in this place of peace, under the watchful gaze of the stars, the night will heal. In a world where sunlight dripped through emerald leaves and the wind sang secrets to the trees, there was a warrior named Sir Rowan. He was known throughout the land for his bravery, his skill with a sword, and his unwavering determination. But tonight, Sir Rowan felt none of those things. As the forest settled deeper into night, a soft mist began to rise from the earth. It curled like smoke around the tree trunks, draped itself over mossy stones, and slipped silently over Sir Rowan's chest, like a comforting blanket spun from dreams. The mist brought with it a hush, not the kind that demands silence, but the kind that invites you to listen more deeply. And if you did, if you truly listened, you could hear the slow heartbeat of the land itself, not thumping or pounding, but pulsing, like the quiet rhythm of a lullaby only the stars understand. Sir Rowan stirred, not awake, but not quite asleep either. A liminal place, where dreams mingle with memory, and memory softens into mist. He felt a warmth spread through his chest, not from fire, but from something older, recognition, peace, and somewhere in the mist, a voice returned, the same one from before, so soft it could have been the wind. "Not all warriors need a sword," it whispered. "Sometimes the greatest battle is learning to rest." And with that, Rowan's breath deepened again, in and out, his chest rising like the hills at dawn, falling like a leaf, returning to earth. The forest wrapped itself around him once more. The branches of the whispering oak seemed to stretch just slightly, as if tucking him in. Elsewhere in the clearing, the young scribe had drifted into sleep, her head tilted gently over her shoulder, hair brushed by fern and firefly. Her journal had fallen to her lap, one last line written in sleepy script. "The night dreams, and the forest listens." The page fluttered in the breeze, but the words stayed etched in quiet ink, held by the moment. Above them both, the sky had turned a darker shade of blue, so deep it was almost velvet. The stars glistened like tiny windows, not looking down but welcoming you in. And far beyond the forest, beyond the fields and rivers and stone roads, something shifted, a gentle ripple, as though the peace of this night, of this slumber, this story, was echoing outward, like a song you can't remember learning, but that your soul hums by instinct. Animals in their dens curled tighter, children in the village slept sounder, candles burned lower in farmhouse windows, and even the moon seemed to shine a little softer, because that's what stillness does. It spreads quietly, like warmth, like love. Deep within the heart of the forest, nestled between the roots of the ancient whispering oak, lies a clearing bathed in moonlight. Here, surrounded by the hushed whispers of centuries-old trees, Sir Rowan finds solace. Dislodging his armor, he lays it beside his mount, trusting in the protective embrace of the woods. For this warrior, weariness is a familiar companion. Battles and campaigns have etched their toll upon him, leaving him longing for respite. As the weight of his armor is shed, it reveals not only weariness, but also a tapestry of scars, each telling tales of valor and wounds. Yet tonight, under the watchful gaze of the whispering oak, there is a new sensation stirring within him. The forest, with its timeless wisdom, seems to understand. Its rustling leaves and murmuring brook conspire to weave a soothing melody that eases his burdened soul. As the stars begin their celestial dance above, Sir Rowan kneels beside the steadfast trunk of the whispering oak. "Rest, warrior," it seems to say. "Your battles fought, your valor proven. Now let peace be your shield. Touching the rough bark, he feels an inexplicable connection, as though the tree itself offers solace and understanding. Closing his eyes, he leans against the oak, its strength supporting him, its presence comforting. Memories both joyous and sorrowful drift through his mind, each one a whisper carried on the evening breeze. Battles hard fought, comrades lost, and moments of triumph shared. Through it all, the whispering oak stands steadfast, a silent witness to his life's journey. Time, measured by the rustling leaves and the gentle flow of nearby water, seems to stand still. Sir Rowan breathes deeply, inhaling the scent of pine and damp earth, letting go of the tension that has coiled within him. With each exhale, he releases the echoes of distant battles, the clang of steel and the cries of valor fading into the twilight symphony of the forest. As the hours drift by, the warrior's breaths become slower, deeper, mirroring the rhythm of the ancient tree. His eyelids grow heavy, the celestial tapestry above weaving its magic. Dreams, light and fleeting as fireflies, begin to dance behind his closed eyelids. Visions of tranquil meadows, babbling brooks and peaceful skies fill his mind, offering respite from the turmoil of his waking hours. And as the night deepens, a soft, ethereal voice seems to emanate from the very core of the whispering oak. Not all battles, it murmurs, are fought with steel and shield. Sometimes the greatest victory is found in moments of quiet, when weary warriors learn to rest. With a final sigh, Sir Rowan surrenders to the embrace of slumber, his head resting lightly against the rough yet comforting bark. The forest, with its ancient wisdom and boundless compassion, envelops him in its protective arms. The whispering oak stands sentinel, its branches rustling softly as if to sing him to sleep. In this hallowed clearing, the warrior finds not only rest, but a profound connection to the timeless spirit of the wilderness. Beneath a canopy of stars, his armor, his burdens, and his worries fade into the shadows, leaving only peace and the promise of renewal in the soft morning light. The clearing beneath the whispering oak is a sanctuary of peace, a refuge where Sir Rowan finds solace from the battles that have shaped his life.